Food is the biggest cultural diplomatic act you can do. Because when you gather around a table to eat, that's diplomacy. You start discussing and talking, and you start sharing. So I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Provecho.
Gracias.
If you make it, it's authentic. Authentic is something that's frozen in a time and space, and food isn't frozen in time and space.
And for people who may not be familiar with our Mexican culture, what better way to introduce yourself than to taste our food? And not just the enchiladas, not just the tacos, which is great, but expand your horizon a little bit. It will be delicious. And the trick is not to overstuff your taco.
Well, that's a debatable point.
Well,
I think
just as long as you have plenty of napkins handy. Okay, I've got my napkin, I've got my tortilla, and being that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, let's talk lengua, shall we? Yes, lengua. A ver, ¿qué hay de
Buenos
comer?
días, Jessie, ¿cómo estás?
Bien.
Bienvenida a mi cocina de Yaya or Star Patch. And this is my sous chef, my granddaughter, Emily McDonald.
Emily,
from
so
Boston.
nice to meet you.
From Boston,
It
yes.
is an honor.
Well,
It is an
thank
honor
you.
to be here with you.
Well, we'll go back way long time.
Yes, we
And
do.
so you'll do the honors of giving her a delantal, because you have to have a beautiful delantal.
Just like my grandmother's.
Yes, to
Oh my.
do your food.
Oh my. But will it fit? I don't
I
know.
have to give that little tidbit about the why.
This
My-
is, I was going to say, what is this again that we're
The
wearing?
delantal is an apron. This is the old time one. Of course, it was made last year, but it's an old time one because it wraps around. And so that's the one we like because it has pockets and it goes all the way to the back. But delantal means de, from here, delantal, in front. So you use that. And my aunt, my tia Hope, would always say, you have to honor your food. And so to honor your food, you have to do exactly what you did. You put on lipstick, and we wear our good earrings, and we comb our hair. We look so we can really honor what we're going to do. So,
There you
bienvenida to Star Patch.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My grandmother had one like
Oh,
this. I still have it.
well,
Still have it.
wash it and use it. I don't suggest ironing it because that takes too long. But you just
Do it.
Okay, so today we are making lengua. And do you know what lengua is? How does it translate?
Tongue.
Yes, you know, it's a tongue. And it's awful, right? Awful meaning?
Intestines.
And organs of cows, beef in this case. And tongues are used all over. Now, don't be squeamish. There's a tiny bit of blood, but I had washed it thoroughly. And this is what a tongue looks like. Big, right?
Beef.
Beef. And you can tell this is the part that goes out, and this is the part that goes in. Usually they have a lot of fat. This one I had already trimmed. And you can buy it at your local grocery store. I don't know about Boston, but certainly in San Antonio, you can find tongue all over.
How much are they? More or
Well,
less. Más o menos.
last year I was paying $40 for one tongue, not even that big. And this year I think we got it at $17, which is a bargain. But in the before times, it probably cost $1 or $2 because era la comida de los pobres. So that's what people could afford, were the things they threw away from cows that other people didn't eat.
Bueno, esa es mi pregunta. That's my question, because people who aren't from here will automatically say, how can you eat that? But really, it's a delicacy almost. It's wonderful.
Well, if you travel, you'll find that every country in the world eats tongue. In France is high cuisine, and they use it in sauces, beautiful burgundy, and I don't know what all kinds of sauces. But every country, Germany, all of Europe, Africa, China, every country uses tongue. So we're lucky that it's part of our everyday culture in San Antonio and that we have a very strong history with it. Do you know where tongue is used, some of the recipes that we use for tongue? Well, tongue is part of barbacoa because to make barbacoa you use a head. And so you put everything in the head. So you use the beef cheeks and the tongue. And so when you use it all, what you order at the Molino is called regular barbacoa, and that means it has probably more fat, or you buy mixta. Mixta means mixed, and it's mixed with this. If you look at the tongue, it doesn't have hardly any fat, does it?
No, very lean.
No fat, so it's very, very lean, and it has, it's actually very nutritious, and it has a wonderful, smooth, delicate flavor. People don't recognize that. But if you think about it, what do you use your tongue for?
Yeah, exactly.
You use it to taste, right? So this, if anything tastes good, it's a taster of your being or of the animals around it. So how do we make it? First of all, you buy it at the grocery store. If you're lucky to get, somebody has a ranch, you can buy them from there, but local grocery stores have them. So it's fabulous. And how I do them is not the way that barbacoa is traditionally done, which is in a pit in your backyard, filled with embers and so forth. I cook it in my trusty crock pot.
There you go.
So this is how everybody at home can make barbacoa for Sunday morning. You get it on Saturday and you prepare it and let it cook all night long for the next day. I'll show you how I prepare it. We're doing how I prepare it for the crock pot.
Is there a trick to the preparation before you put it in the crock pot?
Nope.
Very simple?
That's it. Now people boil it. In other countries and other places, you boil it for different reasons. So if you're making lengua lampreada or in salsa roja, that one you boil. But the reason I don't like to boil it takes it like 4 hours to boil it, and then the house smells awful. So this is how I make mine for barbacoa. And the Jewish have a long tradition in eating tongue because that's what serves the basis for their delis. Because you have pickled tongue and you have sliced tongue for sandwiches. My idea of a great sandwich is mustard, lettuce, rye bread, and slices of lengua. So I guess you say tongue for sandwiches and you say lengua for barbacoa. I just made that up.
There you go.
Okay,
there you go.
My trick that I use is I use hoja santa.
This is beautiful. Hoja santa. ¿Qué es
Hoja santa means holy leaves. Huh, how religious am I, right? And these come from my garden, and I like it because it gives a special flavor. Not too much, but smell the hoja santa.
So obviously you can grow it at home.
Yeah. It smells like root beer, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it does.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I have huge plants, and so I think that's probably enough. And so I lay I'm sure most people don't do this, but this is what I do. And I just like to do it this way.
So it's got to be good.
Yes, exactly. It's got to be unique, right?
But what if you don't have hoja santa?
Then you just put it in foil.
There you go.
You just put it in foil. I peel all my fresh garlic and freeze it so I'll have it ready. And then peppercorns, which is just whole black pepper. I put a lot of black pepper in there.
Whole garlic, whole pepper.
And then bay leaves. So you use bay leaves when you boil it. And that's a simple ingredient. Bay leaves, garlic, and black peppercorns if you boil it. And then you salt it liberally. And I like to use remember it's got the skin on it, so it's not going to absorb all that salt.
Is that regular salt?
Well, this was
pink.
Yeah, it's fancy. It's called Himalayan salt.
excuse
So
me.
the Himalayans now meet lengua.
I love this country.
And so I just put it like this, and then I just wrap it up.
Nice and cozy.
And that's it. And then I'm going to cook it for 8 hours. I'm going to cook it for 8 hours in my crock pot on low. You've got to put it on low, folks, okay? So put it on low, cook it all night. get up in the morning and it's ready to go. So simple. But you must have frijoles, like refried beans to go with it.
Got to.
I made frijoles en la olla today, but beans go well with any kind of taco. It's done. So this is in the morning, and here it is. The unveiling.
Here we are. Ta-da!
Yeah. Da-da, da-da, da-da.
Mira.
So here is and this juice is excellent for it, okay? And there's the peppercorns, and it's still kind of hot
Yeah,
because I put it on last night.
So given everything that you've used, it must be so flavorful because it's
Yeah.
not just the tongue itself, but everything that went
Well,
with it.
it needs a black pepper, and it, of course, needs salt. And the bay leaves impart a sense of casa casera, like Adán Medrano calls it, a comida casera. So what I like about tongue is the fact that it's high cuisine in some countries and only like eaten in restaurants. But for us, it's high cuisine that is casera cooking. So this is that tough part, remember?
For people who don't know what casera is, that is
Home cooking.
Home cooking.
Which is probably the best.
Yes.
And if you take it off when it's really hot,
Easier.
It comes off easier, yeah. But somebody said, well, how do you chew that big old skin? I said, you don't chew it, you take it off.
No, the good stuff's
See,
inside. Look
yeah.
at that. Look at that.
Now this is for my doggy. My doggy loves it because he'll eat
Well, sure.
all of this, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Look how tender it is.
It's it just comes apart. So I hope everybody makes lengua this weekend for Latino Heritage Month and enjoys a recipe that your grandparents and parents love. Most of you just know it of going to the restaurants and buying the tacos de lengua, but you can make your own. I prefer this over barbacoa because it's so lean. But also my recipe for barbacoa is I make a chuck roast or I get cachetes, which are beef cheeks, and then mix it with tongue, and it's a really, really great
my
recipe.
Goodness, I can just imagine.
So you leave a little bit of the fat on there, okay?
Of course.
Yeah.
For flavor, a little
Yep,
additional flavor.
Yep, you gotta have, okay. And we don't waste any
I was
of
going to
that.
say, well, waste not, want not. That's the whole
right.
idea.
That's right. And easy peasy cleaning.
And it smells so delicious.
Yeah. The cleaning is so fabulous. And so now give me the other fork that's over there. And now we just take it apart. Oops, I forgot to take that little piece off. And all you do is just take it apart.
Just shred it like that.
You don't even have to cut it.
No.
See how tender it is? Very easy. And then, of course, then you just chop it up to the piece that you want. And I'm going to let you taste a little bit of
boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
of that middle part.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, there you go. Provecho.
Gracias.
Does it taste like root beer? No.
No. It tastes like
Barbacoa.
being home in Laredo. Oh, gosh.
So you're from Laredo.
Very much so.
Yeah.
De Nuevo Laredo, pero de Laredo
Yeah.
también.
Wow.
Because I know it's delicious. So tender. It is so
And
it's a
is it?
delicate flavor,
Yeah.
but yet it's very flavorful.
It is, yeah, and it's mellow. I used to remember barbacoa having this very gamey taste, which is why I was not too particular with it. But all you do is chop it up, and like I said, you've got what you need.
This is far more tender than even the best sirloin.
True.
I mean, this is just beautiful.
And I've been to fancy restaurants in Europe where it's where you buy tongue, and I'm always fascinated by how people use it in their countries. Did it need salt?
Un poquitito.
Un poquito. Okay, so that's easily solved, right?
No mucho. Ahí tiene.
Okay.
Ya con eso.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But it's really just separating it a lot so that it's small to fit in your tortillas.
In those other countries, do they also prepare it like this?
No, that's a good question.
Or like, does it still look like lengua, is what I'm trying to say.
It looks like lengua. Probably the most similar ones is when we make lengua in escabeche or lengua in salsa, where it's the slices of lengua. But chopped up like this, no, because barbacoa is unique to South Texas and northern Mexico because of our cattle industry. Barbacoa is original from Mexico, and the cattle drivers would drive the cattle up, from all of the ranches up to Dallas and Fort Worth, where the big stock yards were. But one of the biggest stockyards, I think is so amazing, was from here in San Antonio.
I remember.
Yeah.
They're on the west side, yes?
Yes. I think our community grew up with lengua and their being because their parents, their fathers worked in the stockyards.
Correct.
And worked at the meat packing companies. So it's been here, I think the Swift Company was here for 112 years. So that's a long time to have a history of offal, to eat offal, but it did make the neighborhood smell awful. Because when they would slaughter animals and do whatever they had to do, there was this very penetrating smell throughout of all of the west side.
Yes.
Okay, but I think that's pretty.
No, but this, like I say, has the aroma is. It's just so inviting. Could you give me another little bit?
Of course. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see how much juice is in there. Not much. So we're going to dump it all in there.
Perfect salt. Salt is perfect.
Put it all in there.
For added moisture and
and
flavor.
this gives it the flavor.
Somebody grab a tortilla quick.
Yeah. What do you prefer? The purists are going to do one thing, but people have their personal.
That's all right.
Yeah. Do you
I love those.
You like corn or do you do both? The harina, and then the. Okay, so that is the.
Perfecto. Ahí estamos.
Taco.
Done.
Lengua tacos, simple.
Oh, look at this.
So
more goodies.
So what you need for our tacos are really a pico de gallo thing.
You bet.
And so what is pico de gallo? It is tomatoes and onion. So
Okay, here's a question for you. What do you know about the term pico de gallo?
Well, it's made of, it's pico meaning what? Beak.
Beak.
Right? And the gallo meaning
The rooster.
The rooster. So it's how they pick at things and with small quantities, but I'm sure it has more elaborate meaning than just that.
That works.
Yeah, that works, right?
It paints a picture in my mind, yes, of course.
So you need, for the tacos, you need finely chopped onion and cilantro and jalapeno.
Okay, here's a loaded question. How long have you been cooking?
I guess I've been cooking since I was 13.
Really?
My mother was an excellent cook. Since she didn't come from San Antonio, she consequently didn't cook Mexican food at home. But she was a grand reader of cooking magazines and the Farmer's Almanac. So she was a very inventive cook that cooked all kinds of food. My dad came from here, so he was more used to this kind of food, you know, the whole beef thing, being a big Texan.
Sure.
You know, always making barbecue brisket and all that, but also because this was a food of the area. So eating a lot of menudo, and beans and stuff. So I think I had a very bicultural approach to food.
Very much so.
Yeah, which was kind of neat, you know.
Yeah, and
Okay, so
and look how far it's gotten you.
Yes.
Did you ever think that this is what you would be doing? That you would be a professor emeritus and that this would be your specialty, bilingual, bicultural?
Nowadays, but before it was other research topics that I had, and one of the most, I think to me that made sense that when as a professor that I did a lot of research, was that research had to come from the field. You know, research was not just of an ivory tower. It came from your communities. So if you research what the community knew and wanted, then it was just what you needed to do. So you make pico, or little pieces of onion, and jalapeno and cilantro for the taco.
And don't forget to wash your hands afterwards, because boy, those little seeds will come back and haunt you.
But that's what's hot, right?
Exactly. And for God's sakes, don't touch your eyes.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Yep. So that's all the accompaniment you need, and then you need the actual
Mira nomás.
pico de gallo.
Beautiful.
So are you ready to have something to eat?
Well, I guess.
Okay. And so then you just chop up the cilantro.
Fresh cilantro.
With this heat, I couldn't grow anymore. Everything died.
I know.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Because it could really almost grow wild in your
Yeah.
garden. And boy, does it smell good too.
Yeah, it smells very good.
These are just, that smells so good in itself.
So this is the easy way to make lengua, and to make lengua the way you like to eat it on Sunday mornings, okay? With a pot of fresh beans and a good taco meat. ¿Qué más quieres, verdad?
Un cafecito.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so now we can set for eating, okay.
Keep an open mind, all right? Because this is something that you can obviously write home about. It's like, you'll never guess what I ate and prepared. And who knows, this could be a regular thing at your home, but at least try it, please. It is worth it.
I think a really important point to remember is that it might be exotic to you or to you, but it is common for other folks in whatever thing. Just remember, a cow is a cow. It has multiple pieces of meat. It gets cut up and used. When I started traveling worldwide, I realized what seems so awful to us and so exotic is not for the rest of the world.
Time has come.
Well, fresh made frijoles and fresh made barbacoa. So get close to it and serve yourself.
Oh, happily. Oh, these are so
Wasn't that
wonderful.
easy? We need plenty. So it looks
I was gonna
like
say.
a full plate. Okay, there we go.
The more the merrier.
Yep.
Thank you.
Quite welcome. So you do your preference, pico de gallo or fresh jalapeno all chopped up, which is this one right here.
Very
And
good.
you,
I might have a little bit of both. A little bit of.
okay, of
I'd
course,
love a tortilla to begin
una
with.
tortilla. And I'm serving the authentic way that I think is the best way to eat barbacoa, is with corn tortillas.
Absolutely.
Do you like them flour
I
tortillas?
love whatever.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Gracias.
Calientitas, calientitas.
Calientitas. And then all we do, of course, is you make it to your preference.
Yum, yum. I've had a lot of practice with this. And the trick is not to overstuff your taco.
Well, that's a debatable point.
Well,
I think
just as long as you have plenty of napkins handy. Okay. And now, un poquito de cebolla,
yeah, and some,
cilantro.
and these are the traditional toppings, pico de gallo, and also salsa verde. So you can make salsa verde or
Treat
salsa is roja.
Look at this. Oh, goodness. Looks festive.
But the other best thing about them is, what are the colors, Jesse?
Red, green, and white.
And white.
The colors de Mexico.
Where barbacoa comes from, right? The first cowboys were Mexican, right? And so they would cook on the grill, or the whatever they call that one that carried all the food makings.
Right, the chuck wagon.
The chuck wagon. But they would also do the pit the night before and cook the cabeza,
Ándale.
that you would mix all the meat in it. Buen provecho.
Gracias.
Enjoy.
Thanks to you.
Okay. Hey, look at our two ways of doing tacos. I rolled mine up and you made yourself in a handy one. Very good. You can cook it anyway and make it anyway. Got enough salt? as you noticed, the hoja santa did not impart a big flavor to it,
No.
so that you can make it with or without. So the simplest way to make, lengua is to make it the tongue and foil, salt and pepper and bay leaves.
And there you go, into the crock pot it goes.
And by the way, bay leaves are hoja de laurel.
Sí.
Hojas de laurel.
Sí, sí, sí. This is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You did marvelously.
My jalapeno is hot.
Some of your iced coffee?
So I think that tongue, is getting a new image. And I think it's a fact that people now are exposed to so many other cultures and many different ways of eating different parts of meat or whatever. So to some people that might be an awful thing to taste, but just remember, offal is just a name for organs out of any cow. And that it can be high cuisine or it can be cuisine de la casa, family eating.
Great Sunday morning
Yeah.
barbecue, barbacoa.
Yeah. And like I said, San Antonio has a rich history in that we had one of the major stockyards in all of the United States here in the West Side. So you think about it, the awful part of meat packing was the industry that was in the West Side, where a lot of our Mexican American people lived and where our families would live. And so it was known as, because of the smell, it was never known as a prized way to live. But what they didn't realize was that we were eating, or other parts of San Antonio, we were eating all of the elements out of a cow.
We're making the most of certainly the creature that was boosting the economy.
Yeah.
Granted, not very much, but at least it was some economy.
Well, it was the biggest industry in San Antonio, meat packing. I never thought of that. And in credit to them, they paid the workers well, I guess. And I guess that's a relative statement. But according to them, they were paid well and had benefits. So it made working in the meat industry, at Swift's in particular, a good job.
Right. So what do you think of your own?
I think it came out good because it didn't have a lot of fat on it. It needs a little bit more fat in it. So if I had not trimmed it so much, it would have a little bit more fat. And fat is what gives you flavor. By the way, I've had lengua with champagne because I consider it a great brunch dish. So you just lift something up in its way of reputation.
Now you've got me yearning a Bloody Mary.
Well, you just picked the right one to go with barbacoa.
There you go.
Right,
I
tomatoes,
was gonna say. So what is it? Because I know this is your expertise. Cultural cuisine.
Studies, yeah.
Right, cultural studies.
Yeah.
What is it about food that says so much about us?
Well, food is a reflection of who you are. Because you grew up eating food. It nourished you. So your first familiarity with cuisine was that of your home. And who are the best chefs? The mothers. So they cooked endless meals, and that's where you acquired your elementary taste, and then you start exploring after that. But I think that food is the tie that binds people. And I think that's why they always have diplomatic dinners. They have them over food, because people can talk. It allows you to talk. And my favorite word in Spanish is called sobremesa. And that's what we do after we eat. We continue talking and discussing. You don't get up from the table. You don't rush through a meal. You really talk, and then you pick up whenever it's appropriate, but you don't interrupt train of thought of what people are discussing. And I think the untold stories, like you're doing, Jesse, are so important for us in a community whose culture has not been documented, our history has not been documented, and the fact that we can learn from each other. So who do best learn from? The early chefs in the kitchen were our mothers and grandmothers. And that's always now a point that people think about. It doesn't taste like my grandmother's. It doesn't taste like my mother's. It's not authentic. And my point to people is that if you make it, it's authentic. Authentic is something that's frozen in a time and space, and food isn't frozen in time and space. And you saw this, it went from being cooked in a pit to being cooked in a crock pot to be using aluminum foil. And of course, if you have an Instant Pot, you can do it in an Instant Pot. But authentic is how you make it and the recognition that you give to whatever it is you're cooking.
So we shouldn't feel intimidated by trying to prepare this. It's, like I say, worth a try. Why not?
Well, you know, I was not intimidated, but I thought, okay, I got to get this down straight and make it a barbacoa. And then I realized in the presentation, it didn't take long at all. So it's buying a raw tongue and then just putting it in your crock pot, Instant Pot, and cooking it overnight for 8 hours slow and taking it out and making the accompaniments to it. That was simple, right?
Simple and delicious. Simple and delicious.
Thank you.
Going back to my question about, what does this say about us? What does our food say to other people, especially those who may not be familiar with our culture?
Very good point. And that is, number one, we're eating it in a tortilla de maíz. Maíz is paramount to the Americas, paramount to Mexico, and that is an ingredient that is used in so many foods. So that's our food. You know, corn is our food, corn tortillas are our food, but now it's gone nationally. Frijoles, which are also common to the Americas, are food that is part of our culture. I think the tongue reflects, at a time it reflected poverty. But if you look at it, it reflects poverty in all ethnic groups. That the poor people ate the food that other people didn't eat. And they were so creative and innovative in taking these awful kinds of pieces of meat and making something so unique. So yes, it reflects the time, where you grew up, and where, and the space that you've lived in. So if you lived in, like you were born in Nuevo Laredo, but you grew up in Laredo, just that binationality gives you a different approach. In San Antonio, again, it's that. We're predominantly Mexican American, so our food reflects that. And now nationally, what is the number one fast food that's being sold? It's, Mexican food, tacos. Tacos have now reigned all over. It's fast food. You don't need anything to it. You don't need a napkin. Put it in there and you pick up and go. Such as tamales. So I think that what we've brought to the Americas is, of course, our chiles and tomates and our aguacate, the items that only grow in the Americas or were established, like chocolate. You know what? I'm going to try this with mole. I bet that would be good, right?
I bet.
And mole is just a concoction of all kinds of chiles and chocolate and nuts. I think I'm onto something. Yes.
Will you call me?
Arroz blanco and una ensalada. Perfecto.
Oh, God, that sounds so yummy. That sounds so yummy. Oh, my goodness.
So again, food reflects who we are. It reflects our history, how we were brought up and where we were brought up, and what we like to eat.
Again, someone who is watching us right now, who may be from out of state, has never been to Texas, much less San Antonio. Of course, when people first come to Texas, they think of barbecue. But then again, they also think Mexican food.
Yeah.
Speaking to those people, what would you tell them about eating our food and what they should hopefully come away with in terms of understanding who we are?
I think number one, approach it with an open mind. People are open to tacos. They just don't know what's inside the taco. Just come with an open mind, and the number one thing, does it fit your palate? If you taste it, do you like it? Are you intrigued? Or you're not intrigued? But my philosophy is you have to try everything 3 times. The first time you try it, it's going to be a reactive thing. I don't like it. The second time, you're going to savor it. And the third time is when you decide, I like it or I don't like it. But in other words, learning about food means learning. It means knowledge. So don't just do a visual look, do a self-analysis as to what you're going to eat and why, and what does it grow up with.
One thing we have not spoken about, and again, you say this has been handed down through the generations. What about the next generation? We've lectured to classrooms full of young people. What should they know about our cuisine, and why is that important to them?
Because it's a reflection of their history, a reflection of their traditions, and a tradition of their culture. They might not know that, but it's really part of who you are. Just your actions reflect your history, your knowledge, and your traditions. But I think that it's important to know about self and to know about ethnic identity, because ethnic identity makes you sure, gives you self-confidence, self-assuredness as to what it is that you represent. And that then is motivating. And the motivation there is to learning more. So I think biculturalism, which is the ability to operate in two different cultures, not just two different languages, but in two different cultures, means you have an enhanced perspective of what's going on. For example, if I say lengua, I have one perspective of lengua, which is this way. If I say tongue in English, I have another perspective of what that is. I think of it sliced in pickles and so forth. So I think that biculturalism is just a way of really getting to know about self. Once you know about self, you can learn about others in a much more open way. Well, thank you for coming. And I hope that everybody learns to eat things that they thought were awful, that they're really, really fantastic, high cuisine, whether it's at home or in a fancy restaurant. So lengua from now on.
And you've learned from one of the best. This woman knows. She's an expert, not only in the kitchen, but also in the classroom for many, many years at UTSA.
40 years.
40 years. Thank you so much,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Ellen Clark. Thank you so much for sharing your hospitality, your food, your expertise,
Gracias.
and the conversation. So if you've enjoyed everything that you've seen and heard here, please like and subscribe to our channel. You're going to love it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shall we?
Yeah. Ándale. Y'all
Ándale.
get grab a tortilla. Emily, you haven't had breakfast, so come